Hey everyone. This is Six Path Weeb, and welcome back to another deep dive into the world of fanfiction and alternate possibilities. Today's topic: what if Naruko awakened complete 10 Tails mastery? Part 2. In the previous part, we explored the awakening. Now, we step into the true consequences. What happens when Naruko doesn't just inherit power, but fully masters the 10 Tails? How does it reshape the shinobi world, the balance of power, and the fate of those closest to her? Strength at that level isn't just about destruction. It's about control, evolution, and the burden of divinity. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. With that said, let's begin. Naruko-chan came the bright, sing-song voice of Akane, drifting gently through Naruko's thoughts like the first rays of morning light. I'm up, Naruko murmured, her voice still thick with sleep. She sat up slowly and stretched her arms high above her head, letting out a long yawn. For a moment she simply blinked at the sunlight spilling through her window, gathering the energy to start her day. A soft mental nudge from Akane reminded her not to drift back into her dreams. With a determined little nod, Naruko hopped out of bed and began her routine. It had been a month since she met Akane and started learning how to sense and shape her chakra. Since then, Naruko had fallen into a steady rhythm: wake up, enjoy a bowl of ramen, meditate in the forest, gather berries or catch fish for lunch, meditate again, and return home to speak with Akane in her mindscape before drifting to sleep. Of all these moments, her favorite was the quiet time spent talking with Akane. Having someone who believed in her filled her heart with warmth. So what are we doing today? Naruko asked eagerly as she slurped her morning ramen. Today, Akane replied with a pleased tone, we begin the next stage of your training. Go to our usual spot in the forest. Asu. Naruko grinned. After finishing her meal, she stepped outside and headed toward the trees. She moved quickly through the village streets, focused on her goal. Before long, she was racing between tall trunks and leaping over roots until she reached her clearing. Okay. I'm here. What now? She asked, hands on her hips. We'll begin with chakra control, Akane explained patiently. Chakra is formed by blending energy from your body and your mind. If you use too much or too little, it won't work properly. Today, we'll practice finding balance. Naruko tilted her head. Balance, huh? Pick up a leaf and place it on your forehead. Use just enough chakra to make it stick. Naruko immediately scooped up a leaf and pressed it to her forehead. She focused hard, channeling energy upward. The moment she removed her hand, the leaf shot forward and fluttered away in pieces. Naruko blinked. Was that supposed to happen? You use too much chakra, Akane said gently. Too much, and it flies off. Too little, and it falls. You must find the middle. Naruko grinned sheepishly. Right. Middle. Got it. She tried again. And again. And again. For hours, leaves fluttered away from her forehead in dramatic fashion. Sometimes they drifted only a short distance. Sometimes they popped off quickly. Each attempt taught her something new. By the time the sun reached its peak, Naruko managed to make a leaf stay for nearly 3 whole seconds before it slid down her nose. She crossed her arms and puffed her cheeks. I almost had it. That was excellent progress, Akane encouraged warmly. You have a great deal of chakra, which makes it more challenging to control. Starting young will help you refine it. So having more chakra makes it harder? Naruko asked while nibbling on fish and berries. Yes, Akane replied. The greater the energy, the more focus it requires. But that also means your potential is tremendous. Naruko's eyes sparkled. So I can become really strong someday? You already are strong, Akane said. Strength is not just power. It's patience, effort, and heart. Naruko smiled brightly at that. After lunch, Akane spoke again. Now we'll strengthen your body. Physical training supports chakra control. Naruko stood at attention. 100 push-ups. 100 sit-ups. 100 pull-ups. 200 crunches. Then run around the forest until I say stop. Naruko froze. What? You can do it, Akane assured her cheerfully. Naruko threw her hands into the air. What? Her dramatic shout echoed through the trees and carried all the way back toward the village. Far away, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, paused mid-sip of tea in his office. He glanced toward the forest with a thoughtful expression. I have a feeling Naruko is training very hard today, he mused with a small smile. Back in the clearing, Naruko dropped to the ground and began her push-ups. They were difficult. By the 30th one, her arms trembled. By the 50th, she was counting loudly to stay motivated. But she did not quit. With every repetition, she reminded herself why she trained: to grow stronger, to protect what she cared about, and to prove to herself that she could overcome any challenge. By the time she finished her exercises and collapsed on the grass, breathing heavily, she was smiling. "I did it," she whispered proudly. Akane's voice was warm with approval. "Yes, you did. And tomorrow, you'll go even further." Naruko looked up at the sky, her blue eyes shining with determination. She wasn't perfect. She wasn't finished learning. But step by step, leaf by leaf, she was becoming the hero she dreamed of being. "Don't complain, Naruko-chan," Akane said gently as the young blonde girl puffed her cheeks and rubbed her tired arms. "If you want to grow strong, you need to practice with care and patience." "But it's so much," Naruko murmured, her bright blue eyes glistening. She took a deep breath, then straightened her shoulders. "Okay. I'll do it." "That's my girl," Akane replied warmly. Her long red hair shimmered like sunset flames as she smiled. "I only push you because I believe in you. I want you to reach your dreams." "I know," Naruko said, offering a small but determined grin. "Thank you, Akane-chan." "You're welcome." Story of the Ten-Tailed Wolf. Naruko's new training routine began the very next morning. After breakfast, she would sit quietly beneath a tree and practice chakra control. Her first task was the leaf concentration exercise, balancing a single leaf against her forehead using chakra alone. At first, the leaf slipped off every few seconds. Sometimes it stuck for a moment, only to flutter down when she lost focus. But Naruko didn't give up. For nearly a month, she practiced every day. She learned how her chakra felt, like a warm, glowing stream flowing gently through her. She practiced calming her thoughts and breathing slowly. One bright morning, the leaf stayed perfectly in place, even when a breeze rustled the branches. "I did it!" she cheered, jumping up with a joyful laugh. Akane clapped proudly. "Well done, Naruko-chan. Now we move to the next step." Tree climbing sounded simple at first. All Naruko had to do was channel chakra to the soles of her feet and walk up a tree trunk. In theory, it seemed easy. In practice, it was much trickier. Too much chakra, and she would bounce away from the bark. Too little, and she would slide back down. She also had to learn to release chakra at just the right moment so her foot could lift for the next step. It was like learning a dance: balance, timing, and rhythm all at once. Akane guided her patiently. "Clear your mind," she would say. "Feel the flow. Don't rush." Naruko practiced by lying on her back and pressing her feet against the tree first, learning the right amount of chakra before trying to stand upright. She stumbled many times, but each slip only made her more determined. After another month of steady effort, she ran straight up the tree trunk with a triumphant shout. At the top, she threw her arms wide and laughed into the sky. "I'm getting stronger." Akane's eyes shone with pride. Then came the hardest lesson yet: walking on water. Naruko stared at the shimmering pond. "You're telling me I have to stand on that?" "Yes," Akane said with an amused smile. "But remember, it's not about forcing it. It's about steady focus." Water was different from wood. It shifted and rippled constantly, which meant Naruko had to adjust her chakra every second. The moment she lost focus. Splash! She resurfaced with a gasp, pushing wet hair from her face. "I almost had it." "Keep trying, little wolf," Akane encouraged, though she couldn't hide her laughter. "You're closer each time." Naruko climbed out, took a breath, and tried again. One step. Wobble. Another step. Steady. 3 steps. Splash. She sat in the shallow water, blinking. Then she giggled. "Okay, that was a little funny." "That's the spirit," Akane replied warmly. Weeks passed. Naruko's focus sharpened. She learned to sense even the smallest ripple beneath her feet. One afternoon, under a golden sky, she stepped onto the pond and didn't sink. 1 step. 2 steps. 3. She kept walking. Her eyes widened with joy. "Akane-chan. I'm doing it." This time, there was no splash. She crossed the pond entirely, then spun in a careful circle, laughing in triumph. When she finally stepped back onto solid ground, she placed her hands on her hips proudly. "I guess I just needed more patience." Akane nodded. "Strength isn't just power. It's perseverance. And you have plenty of that." Naruko beamed. She felt warm energy swirl through her, comforting and bright, like sunlight on a cool morning. It reminded her that she was never alone on her journey. "Let's keep going," she said confidently. "I want to see how far I can grow." Akane smiled softly. "With your heart, Naruko-chan, there's no limit at all." And beneath the open sky, the young kunoichi continued her training, not just becoming stronger, but braver, kinder, and more confident with every step she took. Sarutobi slowly blew a gentle stream of smoke from his pipe as he gazed out over the rooftops of the Hidden Leaf village. The paperwork was finished, no urgent messages waited on his desk, and even the council had been unusually quiet. Days like this were rare, and he intended to enjoy every peaceful second of it. He leaned back in his chair with a soft sigh. Ah, this is the life. The door suddenly swung open with a loud thud. "Oi! Oji-san!" came a bright, cheerful voice. Sarutobi closed his eyes for a brief moment, then smiled warmly. Peace never lasted long. Standing in the doorway was Naruko Uzumaki, her golden hair slightly messy and her bright blue eyes sparkling with excitement. She hurried inside, her energy filling the room like sunlight through a window. "Ah, Naruko-chan," Sarutobi greeted kindly. "What can I do for you? You do know our ramen day isn't for another 2 days, don't you?" Ever since he had found little Naruko years ago, curled up under old newspapers during a cold evening, he had made sure she enjoyed at least one special meal with him whenever he could. He often wished he could do more, but being Hokage meant many responsibilities. "That's okay," Naruko said, plopping into the chair in front of his desk. Her feet swung happily in the air since they didn't quite reach the floor. "I'm here for something even cooler." "Oh?" Sarutobi raised an eyebrow with interest. "And what might that be?" Naruko grinned sheepishly and scratched the back of her head. "I was wondering if I could use your library to look up awesome ninja techniques." "Ninja techniques?" Sarutobi chuckled softly. "Naruko-chan, you don't start at the academy for another 8 months. You'll learn everything you need there." "I know," she said quickly. "But I want a head start. I want to show everyone how amazing I can be." Her determination made Sarutobi's heart swell with pride. Still, the Hokage's private library was restricted. "I'm afraid the Hokage library is only for authorized ninja," he explained gently. "It wouldn't be fair to the other students." Naruko's smile faded just a little. She looked down at her hands. "The public library won't let me in," she said quietly. The lady there said, "I don't belong." Sarutobi's expression softened immediately. No child should ever feel that way. Naruko was spirited, kind, and full of potential. She deserved encouragement, not rejection. After a thoughtful pause, he stood up. "In that case, I think we can make an exception. You may read in the basic shinobi section under supervision. And I will personally speak with the librarian." Naruko's eyes lit up like fireworks. "Really? Thank you, Oji-san." He held out his hand, and she took it without hesitation. Together, they walked through the Hokage Tower's quiet halls. When they reached a set of large double doors, Sarutobi pressed his hand to a seal. It glowed softly before the doors opened. Inside was the Hokage's private library. Though smaller than the public one, it was filled with shelves of carefully preserved books and scrolls. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, making the room feel warm and welcoming. "Now, Naruko-chan," Sarutobi said in a calm but firm tone, "you may only read from the basic shinobi section. Someone will be here to ensure everything stays in order." "Who?" Naruko asked curiously. "That would be me," came a quiet voice behind her. Naruko turned around with a small yelp, then blinked in surprise. A masked Onbu ninja stood nearby, wearing protective armor and a porcelain mask shaped like a weasel. "I apologize if I startled you," the ninja said politely. Naruko placed her hands on her hips. "Just don't sneak up on me like that again." Sarutobi chuckled and gently ruffled her hair. "I am placing my trust in you, Naruko-chan. These scrolls are delicate. Treat them with care." She straightened proudly and gave a big thumbs up. "You can count on me." As Sarutobi left her to explore the beginner section, Naruko carefully picked up a basic scroll about chakra control. Her excitement was genuine, but so was her determination. She wanted to grow strong, not to impress others, but to prove to herself that she could achieve great things through effort and heart. Elsewhere in the village, an enthusiastic voice suddenly rang out. "My youth detector is tingling." A man in a bright green training outfit with a bowl haircut and very large eyebrows leapt dramatically onto a rooftop. This was none other than Might Guy, a man whose spirit burned brighter than the sun. Somewhere, A youthful flame is blazing, he declared, pumping his fist into the air. I must respond with my own passionate training. With surprising speed and boundless energy, he dashed off through the streets, proclaiming encouragement to anyone who would listen. The villagers smiled, used to his lively personality. Back in the Hokage library, Naruko didn't hear any of it. She was too busy reading, her brow furrowed in concentration. Every page she turned was another small step toward her dream. She didn't need shortcuts. She didn't need permission to believe in herself. She simply needed a chance, and she intended to make the very best of it. At the quiet memorial stone in one of Konoha's training grounds, the wind rustled through the trees like a gentle whisper of history. The names carved into the stone reminded everyone of courage, sacrifice, and the importance of protecting one another. Nearby, Kakashi Hatake stood with his hands tucked into his pockets, staring thoughtfully at the sky. He shivered for reasons he could not quite explain. Why, he muttered to himself, do I suddenly feel like a certain spiky-haired blonde is about to cause me trouble again? He shook his head, already suspecting the answer. Inside the Hokage's office, Sarutobi watched Naruko Uzumaki strike a dramatic pose, her bright grin shining like sunlight through the window. She was energetic, hopeful, and absolutely certain she would one day wear the Hokage's hat. Sarutobi sighed, though there was warmth in his eyes. He silently hoped that Mito guy would not inspire Naruko too enthusiastically. The thought of her adopting dramatic green training outfits and louder-than-life declarations made him rub his temples in amusement. Then I will leave you to it, Sarutobi said kindly. I have some matters to attend to. Use the library wisely. Got it, Naruko declared, her voice ringing with excitement. Next time you see me, I'll be way closer to becoming Hokage. Sarutobi chuckled softly. How much could she possibly learn in just a few days? Quite a lot, as it turned out. Naruko hurried into the library, scanning shelves filled with scrolls and books about shinobi basics. She reached for one confidently. And then froze. Akane-chan? She whispered. Inside her mindscape, a warm, glowing space shaped by a powerful seal, Akane blinked gently. She appeared as a majestic spirit with silver white hair and calm, thoughtful eyes. Though powerful, she carried herself with patient kindness. Yes, Naruko-kun? Naruko stared at the page. The symbols blurred together like tiny dancing ants. I can't read. The words felt heavy. Naruko lowered her head, cheeks warm with embarrassment. She had dreamed of mastering incredible techniques, yet she could not understand the simplest words on the page. Akane's expression softened immediately. Oh, Naruko, she said gently. That's not something to be ashamed of. Everyone begins somewhere. Naruko sniffed quietly. Really? Of course. Learning is not about where you start. It's about where you choose to go. Akane considered carefully. The seal that bound her was complex and strong, but Naruko trusted her completely. With Naruko's permission, Akane gently guided their shared chakra, allowing herself to briefly read through the books at remarkable speed. She absorbed their contents carefully, memorizing what would be useful for later lessons. From the doorway, an observing shinobi blinked in confusion as Naruko flipped through scrolls faster than seemed possible. He assumed she was simply enthusiastic. He had no idea how determined she truly was. That evening, inside the glowing mindscape, Naruko sat cross-legged in front of Akane. The space shimmered like a calm lake at sunrise. All right, Akane said with a warm smile. We'll start simple. This is the first character. She formed glowing letters in the air. One by one, they appeared bright and clear. Naruko leaned forward, eyes wide with curiosity. This shape makes this sound, Akane explained patiently. Try it. Naruko repeated the sound, stumbling at first, then correcting herself. Akane never rushed her. Each letter became a small victory. Each word felt like unlocking a secret door. Hours passed in steady practice. Soon, Naruko could recognize simple words. Her grin slowly returned, brighter than before. I read that, she exclaimed proudly. You did, Akane confirmed. And tomorrow, you'll read even more. Naruko clenched her fists in excitement. Then I'll read every scroll in the library. And then I'll learn every technique. And then, Akane interrupted gently, you'll continue growing. Step by step. Naruko nodded seriously. For once, she understood something important. Strength was not just about flashy techniques or big dreams. It was about patience, effort, and believing in yourself even when you struggled. The next morning, Naruko returned to the library, not as someone embarrassed by what she didn't know, but as someone eager to learn. And somewhere nearby, Kakashi paused mid-step, sensing a familiar surge of determined energy. He sighed fondly. Yes, he muttered, that must be her. Naruko Uzumaki was still loud. Still dramatic. Still absolutely determined to become Hokage. But now, she had taken her very first true step forward. And that made all the difference. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months as Akane continued guiding Naruko. Teaching her to read was easier than anyone expected. She already loved talking and asking questions, so learning how words fit together felt like solving cheerful little puzzles. Within 2 weeks inside the seal's quiet space, the bright blonde girl could read fluently, sounding out even the longest words with proud determination. After that, Akane added new techniques to Naruko's daily routine. Some she understood in a single afternoon. Others took weeks of steady effort. She practiced patiently, sometimes laughing at her own mistakes, sometimes crossing her arms in stubborn focus. Over time, she learned every technique Akane had found in the Hokage's library. All except one. Naruko stared at the faint, wobbly copy of herself in front of her. The clone flickered like a reflection in rippling water before dissolving into sparkles of light. Why won't this work? She huffed, placing her hands on her hips. She tried again, carefully shaping her chakra the way Akane had taught her. The result was the same, a half-formed illusion that faded almost instantly. I can do the others. Why not this one? Akane's calm voice echoed gently through the seal. Because you have too much chakra. Naruko blinked. Too much? Isn't more supposed to be better? More power is wonderful, Akane replied warmly, but it also requires finer control. Even when you use what feels like a tiny amount, it's still more than this technique needs. Naruko tapped her chin thoughtfully. So I'm giving it more energy than it can handle? Exactly, Akane said, pleased. You're overflowing the pattern. Naruko's frustration faded into curiosity. So what do I do? I don't want to quit. And you won't, Akane assured her. We'll find something better. This clone is only an illusion. Perhaps there's a technique that creates something more solid, something that matches your strength. Naruko's eyes sparkled. Something even better? That would be amazing. We'll think of something, Akane said. For now, head home. Rest is part of training too. Naruko nodded. She channeled chakra into her legs and leapt lightly from branch to branch, moving through the trees with growing confidence. The forest felt like an old friend now, each step steady and sure. As she entered the quiet streets of Kanahagakure, Akane spoke again. Naruko, someone is following you. Naruko stopped, her posture straightening. Instead of fear, she focused on listening, to the soft scuff of sandals on rooftops, to the rhythm of another person's breathing. She took a deep breath. Whoever you are, please come out. I don't like guessing games. A figure stepped down from above, landing lightly. He had calm dark eyes and wore clothing marked with a red and white fan crest. Naruko studied him carefully. She could sense no ill intent, only quiet curiosity. I mean you no harm, Naruko-san, he said gently. She tilted her head. Weasel-san? A faint smile touched his face. My name is Itachi. You may call me that. Naruko nodded. Itachi-san. Why were you following me? I saw you leaving the forest and wanted to be sure you arrived home safely, he replied. You move with surprising skill for someone your age. Naruko rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. I've been practicing. I can tell, he said. They walked side by side for a short distance. Naruko felt thoughtful rather than uneasy. She was used to people avoiding her, not quietly watching over her safety. At her apartment building, she turned to him. Thank you, Itachi-san. You're welcome, Naruko-san. As she climbed the stairs, Itachi remained below, considering what he had seen. The young girl carried herself with resilience beyond her years. She was learning quickly, growing stronger not only in skill but in spirit. Inside her room, Naruko stretched and sat cross-legged beneath the window. Closing her eyes, she pictured the familiar inner world where Akane waited. The seal shimmered softly as she stepped into the mindscape. Tall trees swayed gently beneath a golden sky. Akane stood nearby, her presence calm and reassuring. You called? Naruko asked, brushing invisible dust from her jacket. Yes, Akane said. There's something important I want to show you. Naruko's expression brightened with anticipation. Every lesson was another step forward. Every challenge was a chance to grow. And she intended to keep growing, stronger, wiser, and kinder with every passing day. Opening her eyes once more, Naruko found herself standing before the great gate that sealed Akane's presence within her mindscape. The gate looked less frightening than it once had, now it felt like a quiet meeting place between two unlikely friends. Naruko brushed a strand of golden hair from her face and stepped forward, slipping gently through the bars as though passing through morning mist. Akane, with her long red hair and calm expression, sat waiting. "Naruko-chan," she said warmly, "soon you will begin at the academy. It is time we speak about your public persona." "My persona?" Naruko echoed, tilting her head. "How you present yourself to others," Akane explained. "Many people in Konoha do not understand you. Until they do, it may help if you appear harmless and cheerful. Let them see your bright spirit first, not your strength." Naruko considered this carefully. She had always wanted to be seen for who she truly was, a girl with big dreams and an even bigger heart. "So, I should act a little silly?" she asked with a thoughtful grin. Akane smiled. "Playful. Light-hearted. Someone no one would fear, only laugh with." Naruko nodded. She could do that. In fact, she was already quite good at it. Early the next morning, the sunrise painted the sky in warm reds and golds. The village of Konoha buzzed with confusion and laughter. Bright pink ribbons and banners, harmless cloth decorations, had been tied neatly around lampposts, rooftops, and signboards near the Uchiha district. The ribbons fluttered cheerfully in the breeze, each stamped with a tiny spiral symbol. Members of the Uchiha police force hurried about, carefully removing the ribbons while trying to maintain their usual serious composure. The sight was so unexpected and colorful that several villagers paused to watch, whispering in surprise. From atop a nearby roof, hidden beneath a simple camouflage cloth, Naruko watched with sparkling blue eyes. "What do you think, Akane-chan?" she whispered softly. "I must admit, it is creative," Akane replied with a quiet laugh in Naruko's mind. "No harm done, yet quite memorable." Naruko beamed. Her pranks were never meant to hurt anyone. They were puzzles, really, tests of timing, stealth, and cleverness. She practiced moving quietly across rooftops, memorizing alleyways and back streets. Each prank helped her sharpen her agility and quick thinking. Satisfied that the ribbons had caused enough harmless confusion, Naruko flipped lightly off the roof and landed in an empty alley. She tucked away her cloth and strolled out as though she had just finished a morning walk. "You?" called one of the officers, recognizing her mischievous grin. "Naruko-chan, do you know anything about this?" Naruko placed her hands behind her back and rocked on her heels. "Maybe you should catch me and find out," she said playfully before darting around the corner. A lively chase followed, not fueled by anger, but by the thrill of the game. Naruko leapt over crates, ducked behind carts, and dashed through narrow passages she knew by heart. When she reached a crossroads, she tossed a small puffball to the ground. It burst into a cloud of harmless white smoke, giving her just enough cover to slip away giggling. She never stayed too long in one place. After turning a few corners, she performed a simple transformation technique, appearing briefly as a passing academy assistant to walk calmly out of sight. Once she was certain she was alone, she released the technique and continued on her way, hands tucked into her jacket pockets. "You are improving," Akane observed. Naruko nodded proudly. "Every prank is practice. Stealth, timing, creativity. And if everyone thinks I'm just the village troublemaker, they won't notice how hard I'm training." Akane hummed thoughtfully. "Just remember, Naruko-chan, one day you will not need to hide your light. They will see it clearly." Naruko paused at the edge of the street, gazing toward the Hokage monument glowing in the morning sun. She clenched her fist gently, not in anger, but in determination. "One day," she said softly, "I'll be someone the whole village smiles about. Not because of pranks, but because I protect and care for everyone." With renewed energy, Naruko skipped down the road, already brainstorming her next harmless challenge, perhaps a village-wide scavenger hunt instead of ribbons this time. Behind her, a calm, steady voice called out, "Good morning, Naruko-chan." She turned, blinking in surprise, ready to see who had noticed her this time. "I demand that brat be punished for her transgressions." Lord Third, Hiruzen Sarutobi, gently folded his hands on his desk and regarded the speaker with patient eyes. Fugaku Uchiha, head of the Uchiha clan and leader of the village police, stood tall in a simple kimono marked with his clan's symbol. His expression was firm, but the Hokage remained calm. "And do you have proof that Naruko is responsible?" Sarutobi asked evenly. Fugaku exhaled sharply. She was near the compound when it was discovered. She ran when my officers approached. A great many villagers were nearby, Sarutobi replied. And running when startled is not a crime. The entire village had woken that morning to an unusual sight. Bright pink garments, once white training linens belonging to the Uchiha clan, hung neatly from rooftops and balconies across Kanahagakure. It was embarrassing, yes, but no harm had been done. The cloth had been washed and carefully pinned, fluttering like festival banners in the breeze. Fugaku's frown deepened. No child could have entered our compound without being seen. Then it seems even less likely that Naruko managed such a feat, Sarutobi answered mildly. Still, I will look into the matter. With a stiff nod, Fugaku departed. The Hokage leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. The recent string of playful pranks had brightened some corners of the village while frustrating others. Though many suspected Naruko Uzumaki, there had never been proof, only her wide grin appearing somewhere nearby afterward. As if summoned by thought alone, the door slid open and in bounced Naruko herself. She wore her favorite orange jacket with blue accents and a white swirl stitched over her heart. Her blonde hair framed her bright blue eyes, which sparkled with boundless energy. Behind her stood Itachi Uchiha, wearing his Anbu mask. Even without seeing his face, one could sense his quiet amusement. Ah, Naruko, Sarutobi said warmly. We were just speaking about you. Really? Is this about when you're finally giving me that fancy hat? She asked with hopeful enthusiasm. I'm afraid not, he chuckled. Tell me, do you know anything about the pink banners decorating the village? Naruko scratched the back of her head. I saw them. They were everywhere. Super bright. But you don't know who placed them there? She paused dramatically, raising a finger. Well, I know someone with amazing artistic flair did it. Sarutobi pinched the bridge of his nose, hiding a smile. You are meant to be at the academy. Itachi, please escort her. Yes, Hokage-sama. As they walked, Itachi spoke quietly. It was creative. Naruko beamed. Right? I made sure everything was clean and folded first. No one likes messy art. Itachi gave the faintest nod. Consideration is important. They reached the academy doors. Inside, lessons about the founding of the village were already underway. Naruko tried her best to focus, but her thoughts drifted toward training grounds and future dreams. When her teacher called on her with a question about the first Hokage, she answered with confidence, though not quite correctly. The class giggled, and Naruko felt her cheeks warm. Instead of sulking, she stood tall. I'll read about it again tonight, she declared. I'm going to become Hokage one day, so I better know everything. Outside later that afternoon, Naruko sat beneath a tree, looking at the carved faces on the Hokage monument in the distance. She placed her hand over the swirl on her jacket. One day, she whispered with determination. I'll make everyone proud. A gentle voice in her heart encouraged her to keep going, to learn, to grow kinder and wiser each day. Naruko smiled brightly. Whether she was studying, training, or occasionally brightening the village with harmless mischief, she carried one unshakable dream, to be seen, to be trusted, and to protect her home with a cheerful heart. And though her path was only beginning, she was already learning that true strength came not from tricks or attention, but from patience, kindness, and believing in herself. Ugh, I can't believe that teacher sent me out again, Naruko muttered as she wandered through the bright streets of the Hidden Leaf village. Her sandals tapped softly against the warm stone paths, and her golden ponytail swished behind her. Are you complaining? Akane asked from within Naruko's thoughts, her tone playful. Of course not, Naruko replied, folding her arms with a small huff. Why would I complain about leaving that super boring classroom? All we ever hear about is how the first Hokage could grow forests, the second could shape water with ease, the third mastered every technique in the village, and the fourth could move faster than a blink. It's like a history scroll that never ends. It's also the only class you've ever been in, Akane teased gently. Naruko opened her mouth to respond, but suddenly paused. She sniffed the air. A rich, savory aroma drifted down the street and wrapped around her like a warm blanket. What is that smell? It's amazing, she whispered. Almost without thinking, Naruko followed the scent until she stopped in front of a small, cozy food stand with a simple sign that read Ichiraku's. It wasn't fancy, just a wooden counter, a few stools, and the comforting clatter of cooking from inside. But the smell coming from it made her stomach rumble loudly. She stepped inside. An older man with kind eyes walked out from the back, tying his apron. He smiled warmly when he noticed her standing there, eyes wide and sparkling. Well, hello there. He greeted cheerfully. Welcome to Ichiraku's. What can I get for you? Naruko blinked, snapping out of her daze. She scratched the back of her head shyly. I actually just followed the smell. The man chuckled. That's how many of my customers find their way here. Go on, have a seat. I'll get you a menu. Naruko hopped onto a stool, her feet swinging since they didn't quite reach the floor. She glanced at the menu, trying to understand the different options. The man noticed the whisker-like marks on her cheeks but didn't stare, he simply smiled as kindly as before. Just tell me what sounds good, he said. I'll make it fresh for you. Naruko hesitated. I'd really like to try something. But I don't have any money. She started to slide off the stool. The old man gently placed a hand on her shoulder to stop her. Then your first bowl is on the house, he said with a wink. Good food should be shared. Now, what will you have? Naruko's blue eyes lit up. Really? Then. Maybe miso ramen? Miso it is. He called toward the back. Ayame. We've got a customer. A girl about Naruko's age hurried out, her brown hair tied neatly in a bun. She looked at Naruko, and gasped. She's adorable, Ayame exclaimed, clasping her hands together. Naruko's face turned bright red. Hey. Before Naruko could react, Ayame gave her a quick, enthusiastic hug. It was warm and friendly, though a little too tight at first. Ayame, the old man said gently, smiling, maybe give her a bit of space. Oh. Sorry. Ayame stepped back quickly, bowing her head. I just think your whisker marks are so unique. Naruko touched her cheek self-consciously. Usually, people stared for not-so-kind reasons. But Ayame's eyes were full of curiosity and admiration. They're kind of cool, Naruko admitted softly. They are, Ayame said brightly. Wait right here. I'll help Dad with the ramen. Soon, a steaming bowl of miso ramen was placed in front of Naruko. The broth shimmered, the noodles curled invitingly, and the scent rose like a happy cloud. Go on, Ayame encouraged. Tell us what you think. Naruko carefully picked up her chopsticks and took her first bite. She froze. The warmth of the broth, the perfect balance of flavors, the comforting noodles, it felt like a hug in a bowl. Her eyes sparkled. This is the best thing I've ever tasted. The old man laughed heartily, and Ayame beamed with pride. Naruko finished the bowl with pure joy, setting it down with a satisfied sigh. For the first time that day, she didn't feel frustrated or left out. She felt welcome. Thank you, she said sincerely, placing her hands on the counter. I'll come back someday and pay you back. I promise. The old man smiled. I'll be looking forward to it. As Naruko stepped back into the sunshine, her heart felt lighter than before. Maybe she had been sent out of class, but that small twist of fate led her somewhere special. And as she walked down the street, she grinned to herself. Maybe today wasn't so bad after all. All right, Naruko-chan, Akane said warmly as the young kunoichi finished her exercises. The golden-haired academy student had grown stronger over the past year. For someone her age, she showed remarkable focus and balance. Her steady breathing and bright eyes revealed how determined she was to improve. Today, Akane continued, we'll begin learning a refined form of taijutsu. Taijutsu is a style of close-range martial arts. It does not rely heavily on chakra, but chakra can gently enhance movement and strength. It requires no hand seals, only discipline, awareness, and control. It is the art of understanding your body and moving with purpose. Naruko nodded eagerly. She loved learning new techniques, especially ones that made her feel confident and capable. The style I will teach you is called Kitsunekin, Fox Fist, Akane explained. It was inspired by the grace and cleverness of a fox. Instead of meeting force with force, it teaches you to move lightly, to observe carefully, and to respond at just the right moment. It values patience, quick thinking, flexibility, and endurance. Is that why you make me practice footwork and balance so much? Naruko asked, brushing her bangs from her eyes. Akane smiled. Exactly. Strength is important, but control is even more important. This style is about harmony, mind and body working together. Naruko placed her hands on her hips and grinned. I'll master it. I know you will, Akane replied gently. Now go home and rest. Tonight, we'll begin practicing in your inner world. Yes, ma'am. Story of the Ten-Tailed Wolf. Another year passed, and Naruko continued to grow, not just taller, but wiser. In her quiet inner world, Akane guided her through graceful forms and flowing stances. For months, Naruko practiced the same movements over and over. When her posture slipped, Akane corrected her kindly but firmly. If Naruko rushed, she would begin again. Through repetition, Naruko learned patience. Each stance carried meaning. From one position, she could pivot smoothly into another. From a defensive step, she could shift into a swift counter. Akane explained how awareness was more powerful than speed alone. When Naruko grew comfortable with the forms, they began light sparring exercises within her mindscape. These sessions were challenging but safe. Akane would gently redirect Naruko's movements, showing her where she had left herself open or where her balance wavered. Calm mind, steady heart, Akane would remind her. One evening, Naruko rushed forward too quickly, her excitement overtaking her focus. Akane stepped aside with ease and tapped Naruko lightly on the shoulder to demonstrate the opening she had left. Naruko paused and took a breath. I wasn't thinking clearly, was I? Akane shook her head softly. Strength without clarity is like running without direction. The clearest mind often succeeds. Naruko closed her eyes and steadied her breathing. When she moved again, her steps were smoother. Her strikes were controlled, her balance centered. Akane nodded approvingly as she redirected each movement, helping Naruko refine her timing. Very good, Naru-chan, Akane said warmly. You are improving every day. After their session, Naruko sat cross-legged and looked up thoughtfully. How strong do you think I'll be when I graduate? Akane's expression softened. You will be strong in many ways, not only in skill, but in wisdom and kindness. Remember, true strength is not about overpowering others. It's about protecting, understanding, and growing. Naruko smiled. She liked that answer. And about graduation, Akane continued carefully, sometimes growing at the right pace matters more than rushing ahead. There is no need to hurry. Let others see you as cheerful and ordinary for now. Your time to shine will come. Naruko tilted her head. So I just keep learning? Yes, Akane said. 5 years of steady growth will build a foundation no one can shake. Naruko stood up confidently. Then I'll train, study, and become the best version of myself. Akane smiled as Naruko's inner world shimmered gently around them. The young kunoichi had far to go, but she was walking her path with courage and heart. And that, more than anything, was what would shape her future. Naruko thought carefully about what Akane was saying. She truly did not want to wait 2 extra years to graduate from the academy. She wanted to learn, to grow, and to stand proudly beside everyone else as soon as possible. But after a long pause, she nodded. Fine, Naruko said softly. I understand what you mean. I'll wait. I'm sorry, Naruko, Akane replied gently, placing a reassuring hand on Naruko's knee. But this way, you'll be with people your own age. You'll grow together. That part doesn't really matter to me, Naruko admitted with a small smile. She held Akane's hand and absent-mindedly traced patterns along her fingers, a comforting habit she had kept since she was little, and Akane would tell her bedtime stories. You're the one I care about most. Akane felt warmth rise to her cheeks, touched by Naruko's sincerity. Naruko's words were always so genuine and bright. Akane reminded herself that Naruko was still young, still learning about the world and her place in it. What Naruko felt was a deep bond of trust and gratitude, something pure and strong. Naruko suddenly glanced around their shared inner world, her brow furrowing. I've been thinking, she said. Why does this place feel so empty and gray? Can we change it? Akane tilted her head thoughtfully. Very few beings can influence their own mindscape, she explained. It's rare to even enter it, let alone reshape it. The only reason you can come here so clearly is because I'm sealed within you. Naruko closed her eyes. Instead of doubting herself, she focused on how she wanted the space to feel, bright, welcoming, and alive. A soft ripple spread outward from where she sat. The dark walls and shallow water faded away, replaced by a wide, glowing white space. Another ripple followed. Green grass sprouted beneath her. The white sky turned a soft blue. Gentle clouds drifted lazily overhead. A golden sun warmed the air. Trees rose up, their leaves rustling in a friendly breeze. Wildflowers dotted the field, and birdsong echoed faintly in the distance. The once bleak mindscape had transformed into a peaceful forest clearing filled with light. The change happened in minutes. Naruko blinked and swayed slightly. The effort had taken more energy than she expected. She lay back in the grass, breathing deeply. Akane quickly knelt beside her, guiding Naruko's head into her lap. She brushed Naruko's bright hair back from her forehead with gentle care. Do you realize what you just accomplished? She asked, amazement in her voice. That kind of transformation isn't something most people can do. Naruko smiled faintly, her eyes half closed. Maybe I just imagined it really hard, she said playfully. Or maybe I'm just awesome. Akane laughed softly. Perhaps you are. The forest around them shimmered with warmth and possibility. This new space reflected Naruko's heart, hopeful, determined, and full of life. You're tired, Akane said kindly. Rest now. I'll stay with you. Naruko gave a sleepy nod. Okay. Good night. Good night, Naruko, Akane whispered. As Naruko drifted into peaceful sleep, Akane gently smoothed her hair and looked around at the bright world Naruko had created. It wasn't just a change in scenery. It was proof that Naruko's spirit could turn even the darkest places into something beautiful. And that was only the beginning of her journey. Dear YouTube family. That's all for now. I truly appreciate you spending your valuable time with me today. If you enjoyed the content and found it helpful or entertaining, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support motivates me to keep creating better and more exciting videos for you. Stay tuned for more amazing content coming your way. Thank you for being part of this journey. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.